My Husqvarna RZ4623 will not start. I think it's a safety switch or the starter solenoid, but I'm not sure. When I turn the key, I hear one click at the carburetor. The click comes when the key hits the light symbol on the ignition.
Hi, my name is will be assisting you. The click at the carburetor is just the fuel shutoff solenoid. This is normal. Can you tell me if you are getting voltage to the small spade terminal on the side of the starter solenoid? When the ignition key is turned to the start position.
I'll go take a look.
Just let me know what you find.
First thing first, by spade terminal you're just talking about the terminal where the red wire is attached, right? There are 17 plus volts at my battery, but nothing is at the terminal on the starter. There is a little black box under the seat. The red wire goes directly from the battery to this box, but nothing is coming out. I'm guessing that is my problem, but I don't even know what it is. To be clear, the red wire goes from the battery to the black box mounted on the frame under the seat, and then a separate red wire goes from the box to the starter.
Follow the battery cable to the starter solenoid. On the base of this solenoid there is either one or two small wires attached to spade terminals. This is where I want to know if you are getting voltage to when the key is in the start position. Okay, that is the starter solenoid. One side will have voltage on it at all times feeding from the battery to it. The other large post will only have voltage when the key is turned to the start position and the solenoid is activated. I want to know if you have voltage on the small terminal at the base of it when the key is in the start position.
There was one yellow wire plugged in. I unhooked it and there's no voltage to that terminal.
There is no voltage on that wire when the ignition key is turned to the start position, right?
Correct.
You have checked that the brake is engaged, the PTO or deck is disengaged?
The brake is engaged and the blade switch is in the down position.
Both drive levers are in the out or neutral position? Can you get to the back side of the ignition switch? Do you have a voltmeter?
Both levers are out. Yes, I have a voltmeter, and yes, I can get to the ignition switch.
On the back of the ignition switch we need to identify this terminal. Then we want to check for voltage on this terminal when the key is turned to the start position.
There is no voltage to the S terminal, but then there is no voltage to any of the terminals on the starter switch.
This is with the wiring still connected to switch, right? You must have voltage to at least the B terminal of the switch or nothing will work. You said in your initial information that you were hearing a click at the carburetor. Do you still hear that click there? If you are still getting the click at the carburetor, then you have to be at least getting voltage to 2 terminal of the switch. The B and the A must be getting power when the key is turned to the run position, otherwise you would not be hearing the click at the carburetor. If you are still getting the click at the carburetor, then you have to be at least getting voltage to 2 terminal of the switch. The B and the A must be getting power when the key is turned to the run position, otherwise you would not be hearing the click at the carburetor.
You're right, I have voltage to B, and yes, I still hear the click.
But you are getting nothing on this terminal. Is that right?
Correct.
Based on information that you are giving me, I believe that your ignition switch has gone bad. It is not triggering power through it internally. If it was, you would be getting voltage on this terminal. When checked, it then leaves the switch and goes through the safety switches before getting to the starter solenoid. If you are not getting anything from this to begin with, then there is no chance of the system working.
Thank you. Can you give me a part no that I can search for?
The part number you are looking for is 532,175,566. Thank you. It has been a pleasure to assist you. Please take a moment to rate your experience.
I received the new ignition switch today and installed it, but the mower still won't start. Have you got any other suggestions?
Can you tell me if you are getting voltage at this terminal on the back of the ignition switch when the key is turned to the start position? Can you tell me if you are getting voltage at this terminal on the back of the ignition switch when the key is turned to the start position? Can you tell me if you are getting voltage at this terminal on the back of the ignition switch when the key is turned to the start position?
I'm not getting voltage at the S terminal with the new switch turned to the start position.
You do have voltage on the B terminal of the switch though, right? These tests are being done with the switch connected into the wiring. All safety switches are operating properly to your knowledge. Parking brake is engaged, drive lever are in neutral position, deck is disengaged.
To all the above. I was mowing my lawn, my wife came out to tell me something, I turned the mower off, and when I tried to restart it, it wouldn't.
Everything was working okay before you shut it off to talk to your wife? Go through the motions of engaging and disengaging all the controls just in case there is something that is just not quite making good contact through the safety switches. If you can find nothing else, you can always go to each one of the safety switches and bypass one at a time to eliminate them as a possible problem.
Good grief, I've been doing this wrong all along. I feel pretty stupid. The key was switched to the third position, not the start position. I had my son turning the key while I was checking all the safety switches, which are engaging, and then I checked the S terminal again while he was turning the key, all the way, and I am getting voltage to the S. So sorry. Now what? Solenoid?
Yes, go to the small spade terminal on the side of the solenoid and see if you are getting voltage to it when the key is turned to the start position.
No voltage to the spade terminal.
With no voltage getting to there, then you have a safety switch that is not allowing the system to start. It is either the PTO, brake, or one of the neutral switches that will keep it from activating. Most of these are 2-wire switches which can be bypassed by using a jumper wire in the connector that plugs onto the back of the switch. I would start eliminating them one by one until you determine which is causing the problem.
I'll give it a go.
Let me know if you need additional assistance with this. Thank you. It has been a pleasure to assist you. Please take a moment to rate your experience.
I'm back. I replaced all the safety switches, brake, drive levers, PTO, seat and the ignition, but it still won't start. All the wiring is plugged in, but I'm still not getting voltage to the spade on the solenoid when the ignition key is turned all the way. What is the problem?
Do you hear any noises at all when you try to start the machine? I may have already asked, but do you have 1 or 2 spade terminals on the side of the solenoid? You made sure to install the brake switch in the right location. It is different than the others for the neutral.
I put it in the correct location. I can hear the switch engage.
Since you are not getting any voltage to the spade terminal on the starter solenoid, then I would have to start working backwards through the system, following the wire that attaches to the spade terminal back to the next switch and test for voltage coming out of that switch. You could always bypass the safety system in order to get the machine running, but it becomes unsafe then. You could run a wire from this terminal on the ignition switch to the spade terminal of the solenoid, which will start the machine and you can run. Just keep in mind that you have just bypassed all of the safety system so that the machine will run at any time whether you are in the seat or not. It can then be started with or without the brake locked on.
I may try that.
As I said, it will eliminate all of the safety systems, so you would want to be extremely careful when using the machine. We know that you are getting voltage off of this terminal on the ignition switch when the key is turned to the start position. Then we would have to work through the other safety switches to figure out which one or why we aren't getting voltage through those. Since you have replaced all of those, it has to be a wiring problem, bad connection or broken wire somewhere. It just doesn't make good sense though, because you were mowing with the machine and shut it off and now it won't restart.
I bypassed all the safety switches and it starts and everything functions as it should, with the exception of the safety features, of course. I'd like to know what the heck happened to my wiring, but right now I'm just happy that I'll be able to mow my yard.
At least at this point you can start the machine and get the mowing done. It is odd that the machine was working fine, you shut it off and then it would not restart. There has to be a break in the wiring or a bad connection somewhere in that wiring circuit causing the problem. It will take some time, but you can work back through the wiring with an ohm meter and check wires for breaks or connection problems.
If you have a home improvement or appliance question and want to chat with an expert now, visit JustAnswer.com/YTHI.